Is there a strategy that'll help you grow your company faster? CEO Sales Strategies is an investigative business podcast for entrepreneurial people who never stop asking questions. Highly acclaimed sales revenue growth expert Doug C. Brown interviews CEOs, business owners, and professionals who serve them to uncover and share actionable tips and methods behind their bulletproof sales strategies. Topics covered on the show include their failures, struggles, secrets, and processes that help them succeed in selling millions to billions of dollars of their products and services, all with the sole aim of helping you grow your business. If you are eager to know the most effective sales secrets from the A players of the game, then the CEO Sales Strategies podcast is certainly the place to be.
Hey everyone, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. Once again, bringing you a great guest, Mr. David Meltzer. Now, I want you to pay really close attention to this conversation that he and I are having regarding, I will say, value sets and how you use value sets to actually sell. And what you really want in life is not just sales, because we all want sales, we want money, we want everything, but we're really looking for happiness. And David runs something he calls the Road to Revenue and Happiness. And I introduced this in the podcast. So without further ado, let's bring it to him. There's a lot of great stuff in this podcast. I would listen to this several times, unpack it, and write notes and send in questions. It would be great. All right, let's go to the interview. David, welcome to the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. I'm so grateful you're here today.
I'm grateful to be here. I love talking. I do so many interviews, but when we get to talk about sales strategy, I get my hair on my arm standing up. I get super excited because it, to me, is the core of my existence. It allows me to do personally and professionally everything that I want in my life by understanding the strategic side of how to share a vision.
Well, what I love about what you teach, because I've been looking through a bunch of it, is you really teach, I would say, how to communicate with yourself and how to communicate with others. And really, to me, that's always been sales. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I added a third communication, which I didn't have in the first half of my life when I was more money motivated. And that's communication with faith. And when I say faith, I don't necessarily need anyone to align religiously, spiritually, theoretically, or philosophically. It's just simply, especially in sales, I have faith that there's something bigger than me that loves me more than my mom. So when I get a no, then I know I'm being protected and promoted, not punished. And this one simple defining perspective or paradigm shift has evolved in the second half of my life into a more abundant approach to creating value and receiving value.
So I want to run into your rule of threes on the no, but before we go there, I want to tell everybody, because I don't usually do this, but I want to promote right up front because I've actually gone through your material. And you do a Road to Revenue and Happiness Free Fridays every morning. I think it's 11 a.m. Pacific time, if that's correct.
Yeah, well, we do. It's 7 a.m. Pacific time, the training for over 22 years. We do change the time a couple times because I don't ever miss a week.
Okay. So, and so if they go to www.dmeltzer.com, your first initial and your last name, meltzer.com, they can register for those trainings, right?
Yeah, over 65,000 people have registered from what started with 2 salespeople at Steinberg Sports and Entertainment, the sports agency. It started as just sales training, and now it's evolved, obviously, to a lot more practices and philosophies.
So those of you listening here, go on out and do this. I've actually looked at some of these trainings. These are the real deal. And I don't promote just anybody or anything. So thanks for doing that.
They're free. Yeah.
Let's talk about your rule of threes first, because I love that in one of your trainings. It was like, it's so the things that I saw in your trainings that are different than others, and I think more alike to what I do too, is you keep it simple. And it's just very, I would say, pragmatic and methodical at the same time. And so you have a rule of threes, which basically says if somebody gives you 3 no's, then you respectfully, I would say, bow out, but you give them something at the end to save the relationship. Do you mind talking about that?
Not at all. So I think, the biggest deciphering moment is an open mind. So how do we determine if we're dealing with an open mind at a specific time? Because everybody has an open mind. Some of us have open minds 90% of the time. Some of us have open minds 10% of the time. So in order to align the open mind that has an open heart and open hands, that is willing to learn, to allow us to articulate quantitative value to exceed what we're asking for, I created a universal 3-no rule. And the universal 3-no rule says that when we have established some sort of no-go plan, when we've established our next step, if that person doesn't answer, or we forget to call, or we have a flat tire and we don't make it, or there's a rainstorm and something else happens, that's one no. And when I get to the third no, or if someone says, oh, I'm sorry, this isn't a good time, I respectfully look at the third no, and I utilize that to adhere to a rule of mine, which is I'm going to feed those that feed me. And most people on earth have spent the majority of their time of their life feeding people who bleed us. I have created a mathematical simplification of understanding I'm going to allow only open-minded people who are willing to have open hearts and open hands, that know people that can help me or help me themselves. Therefore, on the third time that it doesn't work out, I simply let the universe decide one of two things. One, universe, do you want to accelerate what we're trying to do by having the person call me back? Or do they never talk to me again? Which just saves me even more time, more value, more money, and emotion. So I simply always say, hey, look, this isn't the right time. If you would like to move forward, please call me back. But if you don't, I will respectfully wait until you are ready and it is the right time. I don't like statistics. The only statistic I think to be true is 99% of all statistics are made up. But about 50% of the time, I accelerate my sales cycle when I leave a message like that open-ended. And 50% of the time, I never hear from the person again. Now, I'm hyper competitive. I'm OCD, a little bit ADHD. In the past, when I was a young sales rep, I would call twice as much when somebody blows me off 3 times. I would call 3 times as much if they kept blowing me off. I would waste so much time, energy, emotion, and I'd actually slow down the sales cycle for the people that were going to call me back because I started becoming annoying. So I utilize the 3-no rule to 1, determine if it's the right time for an open mind, and 2, allow the right time to manifest itself into a quantitative situation that allows me to share.
So there's so many people here that listen, well, I want to sell to CEOs and they always say no to me. That's kind of their hard, fast rule. And I have experienced the opposite, doing exactly what you're doing, maybe in a slightly different capacity. But the fact that you're willing to disengage and you do it in a respectful manner, it's usually one where they will respond. And too many people are afraid to walk away. But what I'm hearing you say is what I call win-win selling, right? I mean, I didn't coin that phrase, but I wrote a book called that. And really win-win selling is, all right, if it's not right for them and it's not right for you for whatever reason at that moment, then disengage. Because I believe, and please correct me from your perspective if you think I'm incorrect, I believe there are no bad clients. There are just bad sales decisions.
I agree completely. It's so true. And it's even more true today is like you, I'm sure traditionally trained in some sort of solution selling, spin selling, some sort of selling systems as we're a little bit older and we're in more formulated sales types of training. The one thing I find so interesting is today, especially because of how accessible people are, that I've taken a step back, zoomed out, and said to myself, I have only a few determinations in the sales cycle that I'm willing to allow the right time, value, and emotion to be the leading decision or criteria in the decision. Number 1, do you have an open mind at this time? And 2, do I have enough questions to ask to figure out how I could be of service or value to you? And I do a very simple formula. I have an open-ended question template. I love this Dos Equis guy, the world's most interesting man. I want to be branded over the next 20 years, the world's most interested man. And the first part of the commercial is going to say, Dave Meltzer one time asked 100 open-ended questions just to see how he could be of service or value. And once we determine if someone likes something and doesn't like it, and we just ask a simple question, would it help you if? Right? Very simple. Would it help you if I did this? I then have enough communication, open communication, to ask a second question. Do you know anyone that can help me? Now, that question 20 years ago was very limited because most people only knew about 4 people that they felt comfortable being a power sponsor to or a sponsor of. Now, because of social media, that we can easily post something or in some huge community with thousands of people on all these different platforms. When I ask someone, do you know anyone that can help me? Exponentially, I'm getting 1,000 times the community. So my complete progress in my life has been to build a community of sponsors and power sponsors, and to be a sponsor and power sponsor by using the same platform. So what does that mean? All we need to determine is, how can we help you, or how can you help us? Or do we know anyone that can help each other? And if we do that every day, in person, on the phone, via email, and traditional social media, exponentially, this community grows far beyond what was even capable of big companies in the past in traditional media.
There's something that you said that was a nuance, but it was so powerful. I got to go back to this. So you were talking about power-based sponsors. So building power-based sponsors. I am a big proponent on use networks of people to bring people to you. And to me, when you're asking those questions, you're building out those networks of people who are going to then generally bring people back to you because, high rapport. They know, like, trust you, want to be around people like that. So I don't know if everybody caught that, but I wanted to throw that in because my eyes went, ooh, when I heard that coming through my brain. What we're really talking about is decisions. Our critical thinking, our thinking in general. And you do something on value-based decisions, which I think are so important to CEOs and people selling to CEOs today, because they really don't think about it. And I wrote a whole thing of notes. So if you see me look down, that's the reason why. I love the fact that you said people generally know their why, but they don't understand the what, and therefore the how does not follow. Can you elaborate on that for me, please?
Yeah. So for me, what is so important, because it creates a possibility in your life. You go from nothingness to, if you know every day, realistically, what do I want personally, experientially, giving wise or productivity wise, and receiving wise? And we keep it in the realm of realistically what we can do today with what we want personally, experientially, giving, receiving, knowing that we are aiming towards unrealistic mid and long-term objectives that scare us, dreams that are as big as empowering over 1 billion people like I have in my lifetime, things that seem almost impossible, if not impossible. But as big as my dream is to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, to teach them to make money, help people, and have fun, today, my value-based decisions are off of what can I do today realistically, personally, experientially, giving and receiving. Then to take that possibility and make it a probability, I just determine 2 things. Who can I help with what I want, and who can help me? Very sales oriented. And then 3, how? By being and reconciling time with productivity. How much value can I provide? Accessibility, how many people are accessible in this sponsor and power sponsor community, and gratitude. But my gratitude is reconciled with time. That's why I call it the student of the calendar. And how. What do I mean by that? We talked earlier about most people waste the majority of their day with people that bleed them, right? We follow up with leads that will never come to fruition because our ego is telling us, I can convince them, I can oversell them, back end sell them, lie, manipulate, and cheat them. I just got to get them on the phone. So I'll spend 80% of my day chasing things that'll never happen. Instead, reconcile gratitude that there's light, love, and lessons in every sales situation, every person, but determine, is it worth your time? So I use the 3 no rule to see if it's worth my time or not. Then what I do, which is the confirmation of the what, the who, and the how, is prioritize. See, if you know and prioritize by your values, then when God laughs at you during your sales day, and ruins your well-developed plan. You got canceled meetings, you got a flat tire, you got whatever else happens, in-laws in town. I've lived as a salesperson for 35 years, either as a low level to executive at the highest level. Trust me, God will laugh at the well-developed sales plan. You have your values in order. You simply make those decisions because you now can prioritize what is important to you. Urgency is always a subset, but utilizing Eisenhower's matrix of important versus urgency, I've enhanced that with the what, the who, and the how to determine the now. Whether it's planned or unplanned, whether it's paid activity or unpaid activity, what am I going to do to be productive, accessible, and gracious now? And if you do that, everything changes with your why. No longer are you trying to get more healthy, more wealthy, more worthy, more happy. You now, knowing the what, the who, and the how, applying the why by saying, I am happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy, you start figuring out what you're doing to interfere with it. Most great salespeople, whether you're a journeyman or an eagle, in other words, whether it comes naturally to you or you got to work at it, most salespeople spend the majority of their time interfering with their sales instead of knowing that they're here to create quantitative value, and they haven't practiced articulating the quantitative value to exceed what they're asking for at the right time. And utilizing this what, who, how, now, and why can help you. I call it the 5 daily practices of selling. These 5 daily practices can help you practice articulating that value. Statistically, your success will expand beyond your imagination.
So quantitative value being that which we can measure, subjective value being that which we think, right? So
I call it the purple dinosaur. Most people sell like Barney, right? The subjective value is I love you, you love me,
right.
Nobody makes any money. And that's where most salespeople spend all their time. Oh, they love me. This is going to happen, instead of articulating the quantitative value.
So it's the happy years syndrome is what I
exactly. Yes.
So in quantitative value, because this is so important, I believe has 2 components to it, maybe more, maybe you can fill it in. But I always feel there's a professional ROI and a personal ROI, and both can be quantified, but most people don't ever touch the personal side. They try to only go to the quantitative value of the professional ROI. But what I'm hearing a lot and what I see in your trainings is personal ROI is as equally important, sometimes more important than actually professional ROI.
Absolutely. Personal, experiential giving and receiving. They, to me, are indicative of the activity of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude. They create efficiency, effectiveness, and statistical success. You will know by statistics that somebody that's happily married, for example, is a much better salesperson. Yes. Quantitatively. There's no, everybody, I mean, these are just polls after research. People who are happy, are positive, are exponentially greater in sales. Well, happy, positive, and married are 3 personal things that we need to make sure that we are. And these all start to aggregate and accelerate. They have synergies in symbiotic, positive, productive, accessible, and gracious outcomes that are quantitative. So I think by far, whether it's 2, 4, or 8, all personal activity and professional activity, that's why I don't ever say the word work. That to me makes no sense. For me, I'm going to make sure I'm utilizing my time in activity I get paid for and activity I don't get paid for, utilizing my values of what I want from the day, who I can help, who can help me, how to get it done, and prioritize correctly. So for example, the number 1 non-negotiable in my life has everything to do with sales, but most people think it has nothing to do with sales. And it's the number 1 thing that when people are doing it, they're like, oh, I should be working. And when they're working, they always say, I should be doing this. And it's your health. If you're healthy, you're a way better salesperson. If you're healthy, you get as many asks as you want during the day. If you're unhealthy, you only have 1 ask. But yet most people, when they're working out that are competitive salespeople, are like, oh, I should be selling. And when they're selling, they're like, I should be jogging or whatever else it is. So I think that they are interrelated to one another, the personal and professional activities. They both enhance the productivity, accessibility, and gratitude in what you're doing.
I couldn't agree more than 100%. So I will give that at least 100%. So David, thank you for being here. Any last parting words, or you want to leave anybody with anything that I haven't talked about?
I'd love anybody that needs, any of these 5 daily practices, the open-ended question guide, come to my free training or reach out to me directly, david@dmeltzer.com. It all is rooted in your values. I want you to remember you're happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy. Let Doug help you figure out what you're doing to interfere with it. But don't forget, be kind to your future self. Do good deeds. I promise you, they'll come back to you.
Awesome. David, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
You got it. Congratulations, Doug. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Wasn't that great? See, here's the thing to understand, that you cannot separate the self from the sale. So the successful self equals successful sale. Unsuccessful self still equals sales, but not as successful as you probably want them to do. And B, so reality is, look at your value set. He gave you 4. He gave you personal. I'm going to hold up something here and read these to you. Personal values, which is, what do we believe? What do we want? What do we stay in for, if you will? Our experiential values, like, what are all the things that we've taken in over the years? I remember when I was a child, I was trying to figure out how to be an entrepreneur. Nobody told me how to be one. So I was just trying stuff. Everybody thought I was crazy. I had, 12 businesses running at one time. I was just constantly doing things, but I was also traveling. I was doing things like that. So today, when I'm having conversations with CEOs, I can bring all that experience in, because usually we're talking about something they can relate to as well. Number 3, giving values, right? What are your giving values? Those are, what do you want to happen for the future, right? So you're giving values away, if you will. You're giving the future away, and then receiving values. And that's the one I'm going to cue you in on, because most people are not that good at receiving value. Why? They were brought up in a certain way, which is, hey, you don't really deserve receiving values. Life is hard. Things are going to be hard. You got to battle through everything. And what we do is we want to serve our mom or dad, our caretakers, our preacher, teacher, whoever, and even our friends. So we compromise on the receiving values, which basically is compromising on the personal values as well, which gets you into trouble. It's a cycle. But as David said, I wrote it down. I loved what he said here, happy, positive, and married, right? If you can be happy, positive, and married to yourself, then usually you're happy, positive, and married to what you do and to other people, including your spouse or significant other. So again, can't stress enough that maybe this was a condensed episode and power-packed with a lot of stuff here. Go back and listen to it again and again and again. Let this sink in. The happier you are, the more you will make. I am a personal testament to this. I've done this in my own life. When I've been in, bad marriages, my revenue was down. When I've been in, as I am now, a great marriage, my revenue has gone up significantly, about 22% every single year over a multitude of years. You start getting that compounding effect in your life. It really adds up to something. Until next time, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. I'm going to continue to bring you great talent. If you like the podcast, please subscribe to it. Give it a 5-star review. As it said, help a brother out. I'm the brother at this kind of junction here. And if you have any episodes that you would like to see content on, as usual, send them in to me at doug@ceosalesstrategies.com. Hit me up on LinkedIn, Doug Brown 1234, and let me know what they are, because I will source that talent. I have a great pool of talent to source from and a lot of very smart people. And as always, check out David and what he's doing, at dmeltzer.com. And if you need help on your business and you want to reach out to me, by all means, send me an email. Do what you've been doing. I really appreciate it. And contact me, and I'll see if I can help your company. And if I cannot, I will move you to someone who can, so I could be a resource for you in that regard too. All right. Until next time, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast, saying go out, sell something, sell it profitably, sell a lot of it, make a lot of money, and be happy to your success.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. What is something that you learned that you could act on today? Don't forget to schedule it now, or it may never get forward momentum. If you find our content valuable, please leave a favorable review and let us know what you liked. Please also share this with others if the content will help them. For our show notes, other episodes, and more interesting content and resources, please visit ceosalesstrategiespodcast.com. See you soon, and to your continued success,